So questions about what drove so many to break the law during the riots this week are still being asked by many people. A group of teenagers justified their actions to Sky News, and the report you may have just seen from Tom Parmenter also said in so doing that it was payback to businesses who'd actually refused to offer them work. Joining us from central London is a former gang member. That's Gavin McKenna. Gavin, welcome to you, and thanks for talking to us. What have you made of the events of the last week? Why have people been rioting, in your opinion?
I think it's a lot, you know. I think some people, there's a lot of issues going on with young people nowadays, and I guess some people are thugs, so we can't take that away. But then some people are their kids, their children, you know. They've got many deep-rooted issues. I say rooted because it's deep within their heart that no one's dealt with, you know. Like
okay.
Maybe.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's pick up one point straight away. You talk about a lot of these rioters, we ought to call them sometimes just looters, are children, essentially. Tom Parmenter's alongside me. Gavin, you may have seen the interview he did with some of the looters. We've just been running it again. A lot of people not happy, actually, that we're running this piece, Tom. They feel that we're giving a voice to people who don't deserve to have one because they broke the law. Let's put that to one side. You may want to answer it later. One of the guys that you interview, he's 16, he's a dad already. What does he know about fatherhood? What are the chances of him being around 10 years from now, providing a robust role model to his son, who at the moment he cares for?
He is an educated guy. All of them have been through school. All of them have GCSEs in one form or another. But they are feeling as though they are cut off from society, cut off from any chance of achieving. I mean, whether that is accurate or not, that is their perception of why they explain what they did. I mean, they know that it was wrong going in, taking what they wanted, going around in a van from neighbourhood to neighbourhood in London, from Bromley to Catford to Clapham and Lewisham, their home borough. It really is something that they felt that they were justified in doing because of the social position they find themselves in. Of course, there are local grievances that we've seen in Tottenham particularly that sparked this initial riot, but that police shooting of a man dead is, of course, very, very important to an awful lot of people. For these young people who just went out looting, that was not their reason. Their reason was their social position.
Gavin, just on this point about young dads having children themselves, not just young dads, young mums as well. Let us not forget Britain has the highest rate of teenage pregnancy in Europe. We're going to be talking about this a little later on with Harriet Sargent, who's written a very interesting piece about this in the Spectator magazine this week. Young mums, young dads, shortage of role models. You say it's a complex picture. Few people would dispute that. But how important is that problems with family structure in this debate?
I think it's critical because I'm a young dad. My son's 3 years old. I had him when I was 18, 19, you know, and I never had a dad.
I'll tell you what, let me just stop you there, Gavin. What you say, I mean, that's what, 10, 15 years, certainly 10 years younger than the average age that young men become fathers these days. You were 18 when you became a dad.
Yeah.
Did you, without prying into too much personal detail, but did you feel that was a young age? How's it affected your life?
Oh, I definitely thought it was a young age, and the lifestyle I lived, I wasn't ready for it, you know, and I had to step up quick, and it changed my life completely because now someone's relying on me. I've got to feed a belly now. There's another belly to feed, and do I want my son to be how I was, and do I want him to look at me how I look at my dad? No, so I had to step up my game, and I had to change my life and be a dad, and it was hard work, and it still is now, you know, but it's a good experience, and for the way I was living, I wasn't fit for a father, not at all.
You mentioned your own father. Can you look to your own father as a role model in all this? Can you look at the way you were brought up and say, OK, there were some good things there, I'm going to do that with my own son?
No, there was none of that at all. You know, that's why I look to God, because I had no role model. I've got Sheldon Thomas, a role model now, but not my own father. He's currently in prison right now. So I've never had that. There's not one good experience I have from my father. It was my mum, just me and my mum. So I don't have a father to look to. I didn't know how to be a father.
Did you find father figures in gangs?
Yeah, I found, older guys definitely manipulated me. They used me, you know, they whatever, they see a weakness in me and they made it their strength.
Yeah. I want to bring Tom Parmenter back in because you did this interview yesterday. And actually, it's not just what you did yesterday, Tom. I know you spent some time up in Liverpool, didn't you, talking to gangs, more specifically gangs then. And there are patterns that emerge, aren't there?
There are. I mean, let's make the distinction, first of all. The four men that we were talking to yesterday on the banks of the River Thames, they not class themselves as street gang members. There are an awful lot of street gangs who saw what happened over the last week as a prime opportunity to go out and have a massive payday. That was not necessarily what these four were saying. They were just guys who haven't got a job, who are a group of people, but not necessarily a criminal street gang, who saw an opportunity and then decided to break the law. An awful lot of criminal activity was going on, and yeah, up in Liverpool, in Manchester, in Birmingham, in our city centres, there are street gangs who make their lives through crime. That has been the case ever since we've had streets. I mean, this goes back through history. It's just that this is the current crop of people we're dealing with. It's a very difficult problem to deal with because it is interwoven in all these social issues.
Gavin McKenna, can I turn back to you? And I appreciate you speaking so candidly about your personal circumstances. It helps us understand what's going on in a lot of communities which, you know, hitherto haven't been getting, some would say, enough scrutiny, even though people have been dying on a regular basis. Can I talk about education? And perhaps you can help share some of your own experiences on this particular score. Half of the people who are currently in British prisons have a reading age, let me get this right, which is below that of an 11-year-old. Now, this is something which affects different strands of the community. There's been some research on this. 63% of white working-class boys, just over half of black Caribbean boys, at the age of 14 have a reading age of 7. So they never have the skills of literacy, basic reading skills, to help them get the kind of jobs that in Tom's report you saw one of the looters say he couldn't get a job. It's not surprising, is it? Because a lot of these kids have appalling standards of education. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, me personally, I agree. I believe that because I grew up, I went to school and I left with 1 GCSE. You know, like I didn't care about school. I had so much issues within me that when I went to school, I was a troublesome child. The teachers never had time for me. They just brushed me aside, and then you become a stigma, and then you become an attitude and a problem because no one cares about me.
Gavin, were you excluded?
Yeah, twice.
Twice. And what happened? How long were you away from school then?
I think, to be honest, I think it was probably like 2 weeks at a time, maybe. Yeah. But I didn't go to school as much.
What would have turned your life around at school? I mean, quite clearly, you know, you were heading off the tracks at some speed. Is there anything that could have stopped that happening?
I needed mentoring, guiding, rebuilding. I needed people to take time and get to know what my problem is, because I have a problem with that in schools, that teachers go just to do their job. Now, you know, I work with T.A.G, which is a Christian organisation, and we believe in mentoring, rebuilding, rehabilitating the mindset of the young person, because if you've got their mindset where they don't want to hear what you're saying and they class you as just, or you're just labelling me, there's no relation, they can't change you. In school, one teacher helped me. She come to me and said, I see past your problems, you're just lost and scared. And, you know, I didn't open up, my heart was open to her. She opened it. Now, she took that time, and that's why in T.A.G we mentor, we rebuild and rehabilitate, and I am an example now of what mentoring can do for a young person, not just labelling and throwing them out the classroom. So I believe we need to take more time with our young people, get to know their problems, unroot them, and rebuild what they need to set them up on their life.
Tom, you want to make a point?
On the point of education, really, Colin, I have to say, in relation to street gangs and criminal gangs, of course, the statistics that you were quoting about literacy and numeracy, they're very pertinent. The point I would make about the 4 that we were speaking to yesterday is that they have been through school, they've got GCSEs, they have attained a decent standard of education, they are reasonably articulate, bright, ambitious young men who just can't see the opportunity around them.
OK. Tom, thanks very much indeed. And our thanks to Gavin McKenna, who's spoken to us very candidly about his experiences and the work he's now doing with young people. Let me just read you one email very briefly. How dare the looters say that they are forgotten? The forgotten people are the working class like myself, who was worked since I left school. We get nothing from the government except high taxes, inflation and job cuts. Do keep sharing your views with us. It's an uncomfortable subject. It's a complicated subject, but hopefully we are shedding some light where we can.